Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. This is our big season preview with us three predicting where Aston Villa are going to finish this season. We are going to predict the whole Premier League table amongst other topics like top scorer, young player of the season. We're also going to do our wild shout of the season. So Villa fans at home, get involved in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel. Get on the journey with us going into the new season and hit that like button. Let's try and get 1,000 likes on this one. So, Hannah, what's your wild shout for the season? Let's kick it off with that first.
Okay. Just to clarify, this wasn't Villa related. Didn't need to be a Villa shout.
It can be anything.
You can win the lottery.
Yeah, well, that would be preferable, Justin. But I've put, maybe it's not really wild, but I think there's going to be a manager sacked before the end of September. So that would be like within the first 6 weeks of the season. I think it's going to be, there's going to be something savage going on. It could be maybe one of the promoted teams. I mean, I've seen Farkas come out and has already been basically having a moan about the fact that they've not been able to sign anyone. So maybe it'll be him. But yeah, I think it's going to be a savage season. I'm feeling carnage already, and maybe the early sacking will be part of that.
I actually feel like you are right with that because one of my teams that I've predicted to have a bit of a stinker, I think it's going to unravel early. So, yeah, I think you're in my thinking really that the season's going to be a bit mad, I think. Justin, what's your wild shout for the season?
I have gone Villa related actually, and this is wild. And if it happens, I'll be over the moon. Ollie Watkins to be Premier League top goal scorer.
That would be
some
streak.
A sensational season. I don't know why. It's a wild shout. There you go, wild shout.
Yeah, but I think that could happen. I mean, last season he got 16, season before 19. I do think he's edging towards 20 this season. So a couple of little hat tricks here and there, and he's edging towards the 30s. So I'm going to kick my wild shout off, and it's in my head, and I just think it's going to happen. Aston Villa are going to batter Birmingham City this season. I feel like we are going to play them this year. I just feel like Tom Brady wanted to know who Villa were, and I feel like he's going to get a rude awakening under the lights at Villa Park in the Carabao Cup. That is just my picture that's in my mind, and I feel like the two teams are going to collide this season, and it's going to be Villa that are on the end of a win, and yeah, will be too much for them. So that's my wild shout. I feel like we're going to play them. So Hannah, predict your top 7. So run from 1st to 7th.
Okay. I'm going to do the usual caveats on this. So as of recording, this is my opinion, and we've got to reflect on the fact that this has probably been one of the most active transfer windows we've had for a couple of years, and I do genuinely think there's going to be a load more business between where we are now, middle of August, and obviously the 1st of September. So we've got 2 weeks worth of business to go. And I do think that could genuinely have such a big impact because of the likes of Newcastle, who could lose a striker and, things like that. So anyway, I think the least controversial opinion of the day should hopefully be that Liverpool are going to win the league. I think their recruitment has been sensational. As of recording this, they have lost the game against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield, but take that with a pinch of salt. I do think that their signings are really exciting. They obviously won the league with weeks to go last season, and I think that they've only really added quality, especially if they get a centre back. I don't really know who they could get at this stage, but they need a centre back, and then if they do end up getting Isak, that I think they'll walk it. So Liverpool top the league for me. Then I'm going with Arsenal. I just think they've added that striker now, which they've been missing for the last couple of seasons. They've kept all the other talent that they had that I think made them really tick. And I think that they are a good side. I mean, I don't think anyone particularly likes watching Arsenal. Everyone finds them a bit irritating, and I don't really want to see them succeed. But I just think that that addition of a striker will be kind of what they need to stay in that top tier. And then City, I've got in third. Again, they've done a bit of decent business. Will definitely improve on last season. I don't think a Pep Guardiola team can underperform 2 years in a row. That is my opinion. And I've got Chelsea in fourth. I think we saw them start to click in the sort of second half of last season. They've obviously gone on and won the Club World Cup, whatever you think of that competition. They've won it. And again, I've made a couple of, I think, pretty decent signings. And like I say, when you started to see them click at the end of last season and they managed to secure the Champions League, I think that was the side of Chelsea that perhaps had been bubbling under the surface and they'd been underperforming for a while. Fifth place, Aston Villa. I'm keeping the faith. I had to put us there. I think this season we'll get back to the Champions League. Obviously, that's been if fifth place is a Champions League spot. I think it's been a quiet window, but the big thing for Villa, I think, was holding on to our star players, and we've done that so far. Again, let's see what happens, but I don't see now anything major happening that would potentially disrupt our Champions League hopes. And again, a good bit of momentum potentially in the cup competitions, I think will just push us on, because we were, again, such fine margins off it at the end of last season. I mean, the goal difference shafted us. So if we rectify that, I think we'll get fifth. And then whizzing through 6 and 7, I've got, at the minute, I had these two as sort of interchangeable depending what happens to Isak. At the minute, if they keep Isak, I've got Newcastle in 6. Yes, they're going to be in the Champions League, and I think they struggled with that a bit last time, but I think they've improved as a team since. I really rate Eddie Howe, and I think they just have the quality to do it. And then I've got United in 7th. They've made some brilliant signings, I think, and we've seen that in recent years where they've spent big and it's not clicked. I sense it coming now. And this is bold, I think, because they've obviously just lost the Europa League. They've finished, 16th, 15th, and they had a terrible season. I think this could be the year that it clicks. Because in my opinion, annoyingly, I think United are just destined to get back to kind of a level of success. So I don't think they'll be, squandering in the bottom bit of the table this year. So I'm betting on their signings to do well. I think Cunha was an excellent bit of business as well. So yeah, that was my top 7. Hopefully nothing in there that's particularly surprising, but so hard. I mean, I've sat and rewrote this about 5 times. So let's see.
Yeah, very, very good. You've spoke a lot of sense. I'm going to save Justin to predict Villa to win the league, so he can go last, right? I've gone with Liverpool to win the league, echoing Hannah, their business, Ekatike, Wirtz, Kirkes, Frimpong, so strong, building on last year. They're an even better team than last year, in my opinion. I agree with Hannah. I think depth to the centre-backs needs sorting, because I think they're, an injury there away from losing a Van Dijk for a considerable number of time. But I just think they are stronger and better than everybody else. Defensively, maybe those fullbacks might struggle at times, but they are quality. So I think that would probably be my only thought of that, why they wouldn't win the league. I think midfield solid, up front is just electric. And I mean, if they get Isak, it's all over, isn't it? Second, I've actually gone for Man City. I think nobody's mentioning Man City about anything. We're forgetting Pep's there, and they've had this mini rebuild, and I think he's just going to have them really fluid. I think goals won't be a problem for them. I think wins at the Etihad won't be a problem for them. So it's probably like big games where I'd really want to look at them early on, and there are some big games early on. So I've gone Man City. Third, I've gone Chelsea. I think they're a club that are winning trophies. They've got a winning mentality now of being able to win things, and I think that's massive. You look at Crystal Palace, have won the FA Cup and they've now won the Charity Shield. Like, winning is really important, and for belief, I think that's huge, and I think they are a really good team. I think João Pedro is a brilliant signing for them. I think Delap, if he doesn't start off the bench, there's options galore. They look like they're getting Xavi Simons. They've got Hato at the back, so I think they are going to be very, very good. My only concern with them is probably, like, could they drop off a little bit? Injuries towards the end. How's it going to pile up with them played in the Club World Cup? So that would probably be another little caveat to them. And in fourth, I've gone Arsenal. I think Hannah said someone's going to get the sack early, right? And this is along with her thinking and my thinking. The reason why Arsenal won't win the league is the manager. I do not think he's. I think he's a big problem for them. So I'm going to read their first 6 or 7 games out, and this is make or break, right? Man United away, tough game. Leeds at home, probably win that. Liverpool away, Forest at home, City at home, and Newcastle away. I mean,
that is tough.
If he comes out of that on the wrong end of a lot of those results, he's in trouble. So, with your thoughts, Hannah, he could be under severe pressure. 5th place, I've gone Aston Villa, because I believe that we've got a very, very good manager, and the lack of transfer activity doesn't actually worry me. And from what I've been seeing in pre-season, tactically, we look like structurally we've brought that high line back, which I think was a game changer for us qualifying for the Champions League. We look at Emery's time at Aston Villa, 7th in his first season, 4th, 6th, 5th. We're in that mix, and I've seen nothing to suggest why we will not be in and around that mix. We've got a highly competitive squad. We've got a goal scorer. We've bought Guesson for goals. I think defensively, yes, we probably need to iron out mistakes, but I think we'll be fine. We've shown that we are comfortable playing in Europe, which I don't think will be a problem for Villa. I do think it might be a problem for a couple of other teams this season. In 6th place, I've got Manchester United, and in 7th, I've got Spurs. I think both of those teams will be stronger. I think for Manchester United, I think there will probably be teething problems. I think their midfield is quite weak. I think they're quite open in midfield. But like Hannah said, that strike force, there's goals there now. And we know what Manchester United are like at Old Trafford. They things happen, and if they can get on a bit of a run. Spurs in 7th, I think Frank will do a decent job. I think he's got to adapt this season. I think he's so used to coaching a team once a week for a game. How's he going to cope with Champions League, Premier League? The squad's okay. Are they better than Villa? I don't really think they are. Are Man United? They've got a good strike force. I think our squad's better. So that would be my top 7. Justin, what's yours?
You know what, Luke? You've got 6 out of 7 of mine.
Really? Okay, I know which
Can
one.
you guess the one you haven't got?
You've not got Man United as high up as what we have.
No, I haven't. No, I don't see them jumping 10 places this season. I just don't see it happening. I think they'll improve, and I've got them to improve by a few places. So I've got basically the same. I've got Liverpool for all the reasons you've both highlighted, which is correct. They didn't sign anyone last year, and they won the league pretty comfortably. And they've only added absolute ballers this window. So, barring disaster, it's theirs to lose, I think. City, I agree with you, Luke. I think people are sleeping on Pep, and they're sort of ignoring him. The only fly in the ointment with them could be these charges that, who God knows, whenever they're going to happen. But that could have an impact on the season. But as it stands, at time of recording, I think City, they've recruited well again, and I think they'll have a bit of a resurgence. I've got Chelsea to finish 3rd. Again, for the same reasons you have. They've recruited very well. They don't care about these financial problems. They're just going out and signing loads of good players again. And if you can balance it right, which is probably my only issue with him, is if he can balance the squad and get a real settled 11 out every week, they're going to be a force, aren't they? You know, they're a good side with good players in every position, and they've got backup in every position. And again, it's like listening to me. Arsenal, yep, their big issue is not the players, not the formation, not the tactics. It's the manager. I just don't rate him. Excuse me. I think he's the issue at Arsenal. I think if you put any other manager in charge of them, they would be close to winning the title over the last 3 years. And it's only because of him. And I think his ego that they haven't won it, to be honest. So I did and about chucking Villa in at fourth, where I thought,
oh my God,
I couldn't bring myself to do it. I've got to be honest. You know, I think we haven't had a bad window because we haven't lost anyone, like Hannah said. And the importance for me was retention this window, and that's what we've done. And we've managed to add a very good backup goalkeeper who I'm really excited to see play. He'll play the first three, obviously. And I think we've improved with Cassandre. So I think we have added 2 bits of quality to the team. I still probably think we might do 1 more, maybe, and 2 if I'm really greedy. And I think we only bring in players that will enhance us. So, and I think the big positive for us is everybody that was chasing us have all lost a lot of players. So I think it will be harder to catch that top 4, but also I think we're going to be away from the likes of the Bournemouths, the Brentfords, the Forests. They've all weakened now. So the only issue was Newcastle, Spurs, United, really. And I'd got Newcastle to go 6th. I think that potentially they could finish lower if they did lose Isak and you know, they have a bit of a wobble in the Champions League, comes thick and fast, and they start losing games and the fans turn a little bit. But I think as it stands now, I think Newcastle are a good shout for 6th. And I've got Spurs to improve more than Manchester United because I think they've got a better manager. I think United's manager is still a big issue, a bit similar to Arsenal. I think he's a bit of an issue there. And, he has bought good players, but they've bought good players in the past and it's all gone wrong there. So I just don't see United going that high. But Spurs have got a chance. I think the Maddison injury is a big blow to them. But I do think they've brought in some good players, and I think they're only going to improve from where they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much spot on there, Justin. I can't disagree with that, can I? You've copied my homework, right?
Yeah,
so let's fly down. Then we'll each go from 8th down to the relegation zone, and if any team you feel like you need to mention something about, then fly through and go straight down to 20th place, Hannah.
Got you. Spurs were in 8th for me. Again, I think we've all sort of mentioned the same teams there. I think a couple of decent signings. Kudus was a good bag for them. They have got a decent-ish squad, to be fair. But yeah, let's see how the new manager does. I've got Palace in 9th. I think they're in a very, very strong position if they keep their current squad. They've got terrible squad depth, and I think they will struggle with Europe. But their mentality at the minute, their momentum, all of that coming together, and a very good manager, I really back them for this season. I'm absolutely dreading playing them. But yeah, I back them. In 10th, I've got Forest. I think they will, as mentioned, maybe struggle with the European competition. Again, squad depth I don't think is there. They've lost the Langer. Will they lose others? Let's see. I've actually got Everton in 11th. I see this being a good season for them. Again, manager in place, I think could potentially do something for them. I feel like the mood around the club is improving. And, will they get Grealish? They might get Grealish. That would potentially be a really good loan for them. I've got Brighton in 12th. I think it'll be a pretty average season for them. They've lost João Pedro, obviously. But they've signed a lot of unknowns, which I think they're almost at the start of their cycle again of bringing in a load of sort of unknowns and sort of harvesting that talent. So it could be that they really work out, or it could not. Bit of a mess season. West Ham in 13th, I think, again, just a bit of a nothing season for them. I think nothing really interesting coming out of that football club. But again, I don't think they'll be particularly bad. Very similar. I've got Fulham in 14th, Bournemouth in 15th. they've lost a couple of their very key players. I think they're going to really feel that. I don't think they've lost the menu, if I'm correct.
No.
I think if he stays at the club, that'll be a boost. But obviously, that's TBC. Brentford are the big drop off for me in 16th. No Thomas Frank, no Embuemo, potentially losing Bissau. Really, I think they're going to really struggle. I did kind of flirt with the idea of them going down, as with my 17th place of Wolves without Cunha. But I think we're in that position at the minute of the promoted teams. Just there's such a gulf, and I think when you get to crunch time, experience really comes into it, and you've got experienced Premier League players in both of those teams, so I think they will survive. So I've just kind of spoilt it that I've got the bottom three will be the promoted teams.
Interesting, Hannah. Very interesting.
Rock bottom.
Sunderland.
Oh, okay.
I think they've done some good business actually.
Yeah,
but
they have.
Burnley, I think, are a lot stronger. I've got them in 18th, and I think they've made better recruitment, and Leeds sort of in 19th. Again, I just think, I think Sunderland are very, very inexperienced. Leeds have a little bit of that experience in the dressing room.
Nice. Right. So I've gone Brighton in 8th. I think no Europe could help them. I think they were in and around, I can't think where they finished last year, but in and around 10th, 8th, 11th. Well, I don't know where they were, but somewhere around there, weren't they?
Yeah.
Then I've gone for Newcastle in 9th. I think this could be a very tricky season. I mean, Eddie Howe is mentioning PSR a lot, so he's bringing that sort of to the table. Villa are in that position, but Unai is quite tight-lipped on it, and so he's just cracking on. If Isak goes,
I was going to say, as it stands, do you think Isak will go then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he will go, and I think for someone like Gomes, who's very passionate, it's not a good look for someone like him and Tonali, and they're a bit like Villa last year. Like even last year, they had that dip in the season where they weren't that great, and I think, well, if they had that last year, they could have it again with no Isak goals. We're talking about taking goals out that team, and it's very difficult to replace like goals when you've got them. I think that's probably why I think the Champions League consistency, big games. We know we've been there. We know what it was like last year, and I think they might be in a similar sort of position. So I've gone for them. Everton in 10th. I think they're going to be very, very solid. I think Moyes last year really picked them up. I've got Forest in 11th. I think there'll be a little bit of a drop off with Europe, but I think their squad is decent. I've got Fulham 12th, Palace 13th. I think Europe with Palace is a bigger problem because, again, Hannah mentioned it. That I watched the game today, and you look at the bench, and there's not a lot on it. And when you're talking about you're playing Thursday, Sunday, you've got the manager's been able to adapt to it because he's won the Europa League, but there's nothing there to rotate anything with. Who's backup striker? Who's so I think that will probably take its toll. I think 11v11, Palace can match and do what Palace do to most teams, but you're adding a completely different element to it, and we know how difficult it can be. I've gone Bournemouth 14th. They've been raided. West Ham in 15th. Quite flat there, the vibe, isn't it? It's really flat. Wolves in 16th. I've gone for Sunderland to stay up in 17th. I think their business is good. And I tell you, the one that's got me thinking why they might stay up is Xhaka and Adingra. I think they've got a lot of pace. They've got a good midfield. Defense looks a bit ropey, which is probably a problem. But I think out of the newly promoted, I think they've got the best chance for me. And then going down, I've got 18th Leeds, 19th Brentford, and 20th Burnley. Brentford, for me, are on the cusp of that could be a difficult season. Hannah missed out. They've lost Norgard. They've lost Flecken. So the spine of that team is gone. So I think they're in big trouble. But I think that for those 3 teams to stay up, one of those newly promoted, who's going down? It's like I can't see Wolves, can't see West Ham, can't see Bournemouth, can't see Palace, not Fulham. Who's going? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why it's so difficult. There's a lot of established teams. So for me, that's my whole table. Justin?
Yeah, pretty similar. Currently, I've got Palace in 8th for the same reasons Hannah's got them there. I think they're a very well-drilled side and they've got a very good first 11. I think if they do lose Eze, which is the big question mark, and I know Arsenal are still circling around him, I think they could drop off. And like you both said, that injuries could kill them. I've got United in 9th. As I say, that's a big jump that is from 16th to 9th. I think that's probably where they're going to be. Again, I think the manager's going to have to go for them to get up the table even further. Everton, again, for the reasons you've said, Luke, he got a tune out of them last season. I think for once a stadium move is going to go in their favour. There seems to be a lot of positives about the new stadium. A lot of people really looking forward to it. It looks fantastic, to be fair, the pictures I've seen. And if they settle quite quickly and get a bit of momentum at home, then we all know home form is very, very important. And if they do get Jack and he gets anywhere near what we know the Jack he can be, then he could be a monumental signing for them. Brighton in 11th, just another meh season. Fulham the same, 12th. Forest have got us a big drop off to 13th. I think the big thing with Forest is I don't see them getting away with it this season like they did last year. The amount of games they had 20-30% possession and won 1-0. I just don't see them replicating that this season. Bournemouth have been raided. They're going to drop off, but I think the manager's decent, and I think he could, still get a tune out of them to the point where they'll just about be safe and comfortable most of the season. West Ham, again, I just don't rate the manager. I think it's a poor appointment. I've heard loads of West Ham faithful fans not renewing season tickets this season because they're so fed up with the stadium and the lack of atmosphere and the lack of signings. And I think one of the owners is now one of the directors of football there, which is just absolutely mad. So I think they're in big trouble over the next few years. Then I've got Brentford, the drop off to 16th. I've got Burnley to stay up. Just by the skin of their teeth, which is
you got Wolves down, haven't you?
Of course I have.
Is this 3 seasons in a row you predicted that?
No, but seriously, this isn't me just being anti-Wolves. I know this is an honest opinion. The thing that will save them is the manager. That's their unique USP. They've got a very good manager there, but they've lost Cunha, they've lost Ait-Nouri, they've lost Semedo, they've lost really big players, but they have replaced them with players of decent quality. So if he does get a tune out of those players, which Wolves have tended to do over the last few years, just when you think they've had it, they'll get 2 or 3 players that just keep them together and they get a bit of momentum going. But I've got them and Burnley very close. I think Burnley have actually done some decent business. They brought very experienced players in. I think the Kyle Walker signing could be really important for them. They've brought a couple in from Chelsea who, if they hit the ground running, who knows? So then I've got Wolves just about to go down. Then I've got Leeds and Sunderland. Take your pick from them too. I think, again, Sunderland have done good business. I just don't know whether it's enough. It's a lot of players to gel, isn't it? And in the big league, if you start losing, that momentum can kill you.
Yeah. I do think the bottom's going to be really tight, though. I think
there's a lot of teams.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Right then. So, Hannah, what I want from you now is I want you to tell me who's going to be Villa's top scorer, top assist, most improved player, and young player of the season.
Okie doke. I think top scorer answers itself. It is going to be Ollie Watkins. He's on the back of the shirt from last season. I think he's staying at the club, but it seems to be that that's the case, and I hope that's the case. I think, off air, we've had loads of conversations about Ollie Watkins, and I know, Luke, you agree that he's sort of like at this stage, especially in summer, irreplaceable. I don't see who we could go out and get that would be better than him. He's guaranteed goals. I really like the wild card of him being a Premier League top goal scorer, because I think he can top that 20 this season. I just have this feeling that if he stays at this club and he sort of commits his future, and he knows he's the main man this season from the off, I just have a good vibe. So I think he'll be goal scorer. Top assists, I've gone with Rodgers. I really like the link up there. I think he'll also improve his goal contributions in total this season. Not much more to say around that. I mean, I'm hoping he's ready for game one against Newcastle with a slight injury, but we shall see. Most improved is I've kind of taken this in my own way. I've gone with Onana. I don't think he was bad last season, but obviously it was sort of fits and starts with injuries, wasn't it? I'm hoping and predicting that this season he's going to sort of like hit the ground running, be way more consistent, keep his fitness to a level, and is sort of going to do a Tielemans where he just kind of hits that next level of being one of the best midfielders in the league. I really see it for him, and I think we need that as well. Again, so many games in that midfield. It's the powerhouse of this team, isn't it? We really need as many workhorses as possible. And then young player, I think it's probably got to be between two. I think after pre-season, everyone's talking about George Hemmings. Again, performances this weekend against Marseille. I thought he was really impressive, and for such a young lad at 18. The way he sort of fit in, he didn't stick out at all, and I do think he was really impressive. Whether he sort of breaks through, we'll see, but I think it's a similar story for Jimo Aloba. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. But again, we've seen sort of like little glimpses of him in pre-season, and I think clearly Emery rates him and can see that sort of potential, both in that sort of like central midfield, attacking midfield position. So it's really difficult to kind of see where they're going to get game time. But even in like an early cup round, it'd be really nice to sort of start to see some of our academy players break through, because we've genuinely not had that. I mean, for a while, people thought Philogene was going to do it and then hasn't. So really, since Jacob Ramsey, we've not had like an academy graduate that's really broke through into the first team. So hopefully it'll be one of those two, but it was sort of much of a muchness between the two of them. That was mine.
Nice. Justin, I've just thought of a wild card that you could have picked that would have made a lot of sense, you know.
Go on.
Because we're talking about Watkins. If Watkins gets over 20 goals, he's going to be very close to 100 Premier League goals.
Yeah.
So it could have been that Watkins gets 100. I mean, what's he on? Is he on 70? Is it 74 or 76?
76, isn't it? I think, yeah.
So he's not far if he gets over 20 to getting 100 at Villa.
100 to be top goal scorer. So yeah, I think it's definite shout. Yeah.
I'll go next. I definitely think Watkins gets over 20. I think Guesson gets Villa's top assist. I think he's gonna cook. I think he's gonna be expressive. Most improved player. Now, I've been quite critical of this player. And that's only because I want him to get better and improve. So I'm going with Jacob Ramsey to be Villa's most improved player. And by that, what do we need? We need goals. We need assists. We need game-changing moments. So that is my challenge to Ramsey, to become Villa's most improved player. And then for young player, a player that I believe can hopefully get minutes this season, whether it's in the Europa, is Jimo Aloba. I like what I've seen in pre-season. I think he looks like he could be the next one. I think there's more room for him to play as an attacker as opposed to a central midfielder. So for me, that's what I've gone with. Justin?
Yes, I've got to say, Ollie Watkins. I've not have to say he's going to be the Premier League top goal scorer. So Watkins, pretty straightforward. Again, Luke, great minds. I've got Gasson as the most assists this season. Now, the most improved, I've thought a little bit differently about this. So what I was thinking was most improved from where he's been at Villa currently over the last 2 years. So with his performances in pre-season, I'm going to say Emi Buendia. Now, I'm not suggesting for a second he's going to be a starter next season. What I'm suggesting is he's going to improve to the point where I genuinely think he could, and I'll probably sell him tomorrow now after saying this, he could become quite an important player for us off the bench. I think he can contribute. I still think he's got it in him to contribute to the team. And I think we've seen enough of him in pre-season, and he's been played enough, and he looks happy, he looks fit, he looks focused, and the manager obviously likes what he's seen. And I hope we invested a lot of money in Emery Buendia, and we all love him as a player, and at times he's been sensational, but his drop-off has been quite a lot over the last 2 seasons, to the point last season we've never seen him, obviously. But if we can reintegrate him into the squad, he could become quite an important player off the bench for us. And I'd love to see that happen as well, because I think the last time it happened was probably Alan Hutton when he was in the bomb squad, and then he was reintroduced, and then he got back in the team and became quite an important player for us. So hopefully, that's probably more my heart than my head speaking in that one. And I can't really disagree with both of you on the young player. There's not that many knocking about. We've got a fantastic 18 squad. We've seen quite a few of them breaking in. I love Christian Rowe. I love Patterson. I love, Borland, who hasn't had many minutes in the first team. But Jimo Aloba and Hemmings are the 2 standouts. Obviously, the minutes they've had, and the manager obviously likes them. So it's going to be interesting, their progression, I think, to see where they are over the next 6 months.
Yeah, and I think we're all on the sort of same page. You're interesting with Buendia because, like when I was talking about in my predictions that I think Palace will drop a little bit or Forest, etc. Buendia in Europa League, Europa League's tough, but it's not Champions League. The teams aren't of that level. You go to pot 4 in Europa League. It's nowhere near like pot 4 in Champions League. So someone like Buendia, Jimo Aloba, if we need to. I remember watching a game last year for Spurs, and they played like an 11 kids, and they won at home. So I think that there's minutes available for certain players this season, and yes, they've got to take it, but there's opportunity there. So really good points.
That a Leeds, Burnley, or Sunderland, with the money they've spent this window, haven't had a look at Buendia, because I think he would be available for around the 15, I don't know, maybe I'm undercooking him, 15, 20 million, let's say, for an experienced Premier League player. And I think he could do a really good job for one of them teams. But I hope we keep him, and I hope he's reintroduced, and I hope he has a decent season.
Right. So we've got 4 more things, so we'll fly through them then. So Hannah, you've got to do Europa League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and your manager of the season.
Okay, yeah, the cups and the manager. I'll start on the manager again, considering my league winning team. I think it has to be Slot. I think, let's be honest, usually the manager of the season is whoever's won the league. And I also see Liverpool picking up the Carabao Cup, the League Cup. Just seems to be one that they're always in and around the final 4. The FA Cup winner, sorry, Justin, I haven't chose Aston Villa for that one. I've put Arsenal. I think I always predict Arsenal to win the FA Cup because they've won it so much. Not much to say around that. I think they're sort of due to win something.
Well, that's once Arteta's gone, isn't it? That's like salvage job.
Yeah, after they've lost the first 6, sacked Arteta. Yeah, then they finished second according to my prediction. Anyway,
yeah.
And they're going to win the FA Cup, and obviously the Europa League winner. Who else? We've got to win something, guys. we've got to do it. And I just think like it is the Unai Emery Cup. Please, Unai, don't let us down. Like you said, Luke, the caliber of teams, it's a very, very good competition, but the teams are so much different to what we experienced in the Champions League last year. And we did ourselves so proud, like narrowly going out to PSG and just missing out on a semi-final in the Champions League. Like, unbelievable. So I really, really think we can do it. And that's not just bias. I think looking at the other teams, there's obviously some good caliber of teams in there, but yeah, I think we can do it. So that's what the remainder of my predictions.
Very good. Love it. I agree. Manager will be the one that wins the league. So it's going to be Slot. Cup competitions, I think Man City will win the FA Cup. And I think Chelsea will win the Carabao. I think I've got a funny feeling with Chelsea. I feel like they're on one at the minute. And Europa League winner, I have gone Aston Villa. I agree. I think first and foremost, I want us to get to the final, and that's first objective. Next is to go on and win it. And I think we've got a manager that knows this competition really, really well. One little thing in the back of my mind, which was going to be part of my wild card, is once we've battered Blues in the first round that we're in the Carabao Cup, I don't think we are going to be very good in these Carabao and FA Cup this season. That's just my thoughts. I've just got a funny feeling that I just don't think we're going to go that deep for some reason. Might be totally wrong, but
hopefully that's reverse psychology, Luke.
Yeah, definitely. But I've just, I don't know. I feel like Premier League priority, Europa League priority, and then he goes down that pecking order. So we'll have to see. But those are my thoughts. So yeah, that I think I've done everything. So Justin.
I think you've been reading my notes here. I've got 3 out of 4 of yours again, and for more or less the same reasons.
You've probably got that drone outside my house, haven't you? That's what you got.
Zooming in on the window.
Where is he?
Yeah, they should abolish the manager of the year because it's pointless. It should just be called whoever wins the league manager of the year. I genuinely think they should exclude the league winners managers and just say who's had the best other everyone else. So like Forest managers last year. Yeah. Europa League, I think we're all praying that we can win that. So that's what I'm putting down. For once, this is the first time and an exclusive. I haven't predicted we're going to win the FA Cup. For the first time, I think, in my life, I haven't. Because for exactly the same reasons, Luke, I have a feeling we're going to drop off in the 2 domestic cup competitions because I think he's going to prioritise. He always prioritises the league, but he wants a trophy, and he probably sees the Europa League as our best shot at winning the trophy. We are now overdue it, aren't we?
The other aspect of it is this Europa League as well has to be a priority because it's a way of getting Champions League.
100%.
So this season we go into this season with 2 chances to do it, not 1, 2. So like, come on, last year we only had 1, so we had 2 if we won the Champions League, but that was very unrealistic. But
I don't see throwing any of the cups. I'm not saying we're just going to put a kids.
Neither do I.
Neither do I. Change the teams around for the early rounds, and if we happen to get through like we did last year, then we'll get progressively stronger as we go through, and we'll obviously reprioritise. But for me, Europa League is huge this year for the 2 reasons you just. A trophy and qualification guaranteed to Champions League.
Well, that's been very positive from a Villa side of things. We've all predicted us to have a good season, so that is absolutely fantastic. So hopefully everybody has enjoyed this episode, and hopefully we all get it absolutely bang on. So that would be meaning that we've had a great season. We've finally won a trophy, so we'll look back at the end of the season and think, God, how right were we? So if you have enjoyed the episode, smash the like button, comment your thoughts, give us your predictions, subscribe, and up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Love it.